All right, so the section number, yesterday I explained a W1D2. That means week 1, day 2. All right, so there's going to be a W1D1, D2, D3. So D1 is over there in the box. D2, I'll give it to you guys today. And D3, I will do tomorrow. So solving radical equations. I'm going to do the first 4 problems for you guys because those cover everything. And then from there, you guys are going to get the work and then work on the back of the paper. Okay, so I'm doing the whole front side of your homework right now. So the main thing that we're going to be doing here is just solving, okay? I'm not going to have to teach you guys anything because all of this stuff has been taught already. So we're just going to go through, do the problems, make sure you understand how to do them. So we'll try to start off with the easiest and move on to like the harder stuff, okay? So easiest one would be something like this. It's going to be 65x minus 1 equals to 8. So these would be like the easiest types of problems. So remember, whenever we try to get rid of square roots, we always have to square things, right? So I'm going to square both sides. So 65, oops, not 6x. 65x minus 1 equal to 8. I'm going to square both sides. So that's going to give me a 65x minus 1 equal to 64. All right. I'll add 1 to both sides. I'm just going to basically throw it over, right? So that's going to make me add a 1. So that's 65x equals to 65. So what's x equal to? It's a 1, right? So we're done. That's it. All right. Pretty basic problem. Main idea is you square both sides, right? And that's the same. We did this like 2 weeks ago on a test, right? So this isn't something that's been taught a long time ago. Just recently we did this. So another problem that's considered easy would be something like this next one right here. So let me just change the ink on that pen. So it's going to be a square root of 12 minus m equal to the square root of 6m minus 2. This one would also be considered on the easier side. I know it doesn't look like it's going to be, but the thing is when I square both sides, it's actually going to get rid of all the square roots, and it's going to leave me with just variables to the first power, which is always the best thing. Whenever the variable has a first power, that means the problem's easier. When the variable has a second power, that means I got to do the x method at some point, maybe. Okay, so let me get this square root of 12 minus m and square it. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other square root, the square root of 6m minus 2. And I'm going to square that. By the way, these are all problems from your homework, like I said earlier. So make sure you write them down. When I square both sides, the square roots are going to disappear. So all I have is 12 minus m equal to 6m minus 2. So let's combine my like terms. There's a negative m and a positive 6m. So I'm going to move the negative m over to make that a 7m. So 12 equals 7m minus 2. Because remember, the negative m becomes a positive m when you move it over. Then let's get this negative 2 and move that over here. So it becomes a positive 2. So 12 plus 2, that's 14. So what's m equal to? To 2, right? So there we go. Again, these are the easier problems because there are no squared terms. There's no m squared, x squared, nothing like that. But then we move on to the more difficult problems. And there's 2 levels of difficulty with the squared terms. So one of the levels looks like this. So square root of 72 minus x equals to x. The next one will usually have like an x minus 5 or something at the end. Those are usually the harder ones, okay? Just because they require a lot more work. But the work we know how to do. We know how to distribute. We know how to factor. So it's not like we don't know how to do the work. It's just, it's more work, right? It's going through all those processes. So we're going to do the same thing. Square both sides. We've got to get rid of that square root, okay? So the first step is always the same in most cases. We're just trying to set it up so that we square both sides. All right, now once I do that, I get 72 minus x equal to x squared. Now I told you guys when I taught this, I usually like to move everything over to the squared term side if the squared term is positive. In my case, it's a positive x squared, so I am going to move everything over to the right side. So I'm going to move this over. I'll also move this over. I'm going to do both at the same time. So I'm going to get 0 equal to x squared plus x minus 72. Remember, they change signs, right? So the minus x will become a positive x. The positive 72 will become a minus 72. And now at this point, I factor. Right? I'm going to want to factor this out using the x method. So just kind of doing this over here on the side. My a term is, I'll kind of label it here, a, b, and c. A is 1, b is 1, c is negative 72. So this will be negative 72, a positive 1. So just to kind of keep this rolling, this will be a positive 9 and a negative 8. Okay, positive 9 and a negative 8. So that means that my factors will be x plus 9, x minus 8. So let me put that into my equation. 0 equals to x plus 9, x minus 8. And if we can, let's just take a real quick shortcut here. Let's do this in our head. What are my two answers? All right, negative 9 and 8. Thank you. So there you go. See, this is what I'm hoping a lot of you guys are doing now. Well, we have to do the excluded values still, but we will. But this is what I'm hoping a lot of you guys will do is kind of like skip steps, right? Not write everything down. I know I did that before, but since we're just reviewing, I'm not going to show every step. If you need to see every step, go back to Google Classroom. You can find the full lesson with every single step. But I'm hoping you guys are doing a lot of stuff in your head. Like even the green part, I don't even do anymore. I just think about two numbers, right? Like in my head and try to use those. But what Ashley said is right. So we got our two answers. But remember, anytime you have a squared term, you should check for excluded values, right? Whereas in numbers 1 and number 2, for these two right here, see how it was always like x to the first only, right? That means that the answers you find are the answers that work. Just m to the first. That's all we had. No m squareds anywhere. But once we get to this, we have to be careful because maybe one works, maybe both, maybe none, right? So we got to check. So there's always a check step with the squared terms. So let's just do a real quick check step. You said negative 9 doesn't work. So let's see what happens. The square root of 72 minus 9 is equal to, minus negative 9 is equal to negative 9. So this will be the square root of 81. So 9 equals negative 9. That's not true. So this can't be an answer. What about 8? Does 8 work? Yeah, 72 minus 8 gives me 64. So if I plug in an 8, I get square root of 64 equal to 8. So 8 equals 8. That checks out just fine. So my only answer is 8, not negative 9. Okay? So remember, you only want to check for those excluded values whenever you have a squared term. All right? If you have a squared term, check them. If not, don't worry about it. Okay? So we're going to do one more of these. Again, these are all your homework problems. Hopefully you guys don't mind. I'm trying to go through them quickly because we've already done this stuff. So I'm not trying to reteach anything. I just want you guys to remember. That's all. So here's the last one. Remember, these are all on the front page, okay? So you're not going to have to try to find these problems in the back. The ones in the back are going to be different. All of these 4 are from the front of your worksheet. And by the way, as I told the other class, I'm not sure why the photocopier is doing this, but it didn't do it in the back, but it's only doing it on the front side of the paper, like a dark mark. So I'm not really sure why, but whatever. Just know that if it looks like that, you can't erase it. So we're going to take this problem. We're going to do the same thing, right? First step is always to square. So let's go ahead and square both sides. So this square root of 31 minus 3n, quantity squared is equal to n minus 9 quantity squared. All right, so here I get 31 minus 3n equal to n minus 9 squared is n minus 9 times n minus 9. This is like that extra work I told you that sometimes we have to do. N minus 9 times n minus 9, if you guys don't mind me taking a quick shortcut, that's going to be n squared minus 18n plus 81. Okay, if you distribute it all, it's going to clean up to n squared minus 18n plus 81. I'm just not going to show that step. But the distribution would have occurred, okay? And that's what would have happened once I cleaned it up. Now notice my n squared term is positive on the right side. So I'm going to move my terms over to the right. So this negative 3n will become a positive 3n. This 31 will become a minus 31. So this is what I get. 0 equals n squared. Negative 18 plus 3, that's a negative 15n. And then 81 minus 31 is a positive 50. Okay? So let me write my ABCs here. I know A is 1, B is negative 15, C is 50. So this is going to be 50, negative 15. What are my two numbers? Negative 10, thank you, and negative 5. So these are good. So that'll be n minus 10, n minus 5. So 0 is equal to n minus 10 and n minus 5 as factors. So my two answers are supposed to be what? A positive 5 and positive 10. That's what they're supposed to be. Let's check them. All right. If I plug in a 5 into my original equation, which is up there, I'm going to get the square root of 31 minus 3 times 5, that's 15, is equal to 5 minus 9, that's negative 4. Can you see how that's a problem already? Yeah. Right? Square root equal to a negative number? Not supposed to happen, right? This is not good, so that's not going to work. I could have done the same thing in the previous problem just to show you. I just went the whole way, but look. Square root equal to a negative 9. That's not good. Can't have that. Okay, square roots can't be negative. So they shouldn't be equal to negative numbers. Okay? But I just went through and did the whole simplification to, bless you, to even show you more proof, right? So, and then let's do the 10 one here. So square root of 31 minus, what was it, 3 times n, so that's 30, equals to 10 minus 9. Well, that's square root of 1 equals to 1. So that's okay. 1 equals 1, that's good. So 10 will be my solution. Okay, just 10. I'll leave it like this with the crossed out answer right there just to remind you about excluded values. So that's what you guys are doing for homework today. It's just practice, all right?